Hello. I would like to take the time today to speak a little bit to the question of fishing. But before I do that, it just occurred to me that so far, I don't believe that many of you, or any of you for that matter, have really written back regarding the first entry in the blog. Remember what I said in the syllabus, and there's every single word in the syllabus is to be taken literally because it will be totally enforced. Quite a large portion of the grade will depend on your responses to the blog entries. We will have around probably 10, maybe even more than 10 blog entries. And so far I haven't had a single response. And you're expected to go ahead and respond to each and every single entry. So please take that seriously and go ahead and read the entry and comment on it. Now, let's go back to the original point, which is to say a few words about fishing. The assignment today is really to try and highlight at least one major issue about fishing. There is no doubt, as we all will know, that fish plays a very important role in providing protein to a very large portion of the world. It is an extremely important input in the in providing a nutritious diet. But yet, if it is so important for our survival, then how do we explain the fact that we are misusing and even abusing this particular resource? Are we irrational? Because would a rational person go ahead and foul his or her nest on purpose? And the answer is no. However, in this particular case, we are being rational, although it appears as if we are really not being rational. Why? Because this is what is known as in game theory at least, as being the prisoner's dilemma. The prisoner's dilemma refers to the fact that there are certain circumstances whereby the game itself almost dictates a particular rational action. But that rational action will always create an outcome that is hurtful to the parties in question. A very good example of that is the tragedy of the commons, whereby people will go ahead and will use a particular resource. They think that they are doing what is good for them, but the ultimate result will be to hurt the whole community and including themselves, everybody that is participating in that particular activity. Fishing is an excellent example, maybe the best example, of what happens when you have the problem of a common or an open access. That's to say, nobody owns a bay or an ocean, and everybody therefore has the right to go ahead and utilize that particular resource, and so as a result we will wind up in over abusing it. I'm not going to bother you right now with any of the small economic details, but let's assume that there is a bay, and you know what's going to be the cost of the fish and what is going to be the number of fish that are going to be caught by each and every single boat that goes fishing. And let's assume that you find out that the ideal number from a purely economic perspective would be 8. In this particular case, it's not going to be 8. Why? Because it is an open access. That's to say, since people will have the right to go ahead and utilize that particular bay, they will overutilize it, and so the number, instead of it being 8, will wind up being something like 12. Why would that be so? Because instead of using the marginal cost is equal to the marginal revenue as a principle, as a guiding principle, which is what a normal business will do, all what that means is that you will produce a particular item for $10, provided that you can sell it for $10. But in this case, instead of using marginal cost and marginal revenue, you really wind up in equating marginal cost to average revenue. And in this case, you wind up in justifying a larger number of boats And a larger number of boats signifies more fish, and therefore we're going to be abusing that particular resource. And so every once in a while, we even run into the possibility of extinction. Now, what can we do in order to stop this? Well, again, the answer is relatively simple and very rational. What we've got to do is that we've got to go ahead and provide a set of circumstances whereby we will eliminate this open access. How can we eliminate open access? Well, the first thing that comes to mind to eliminate open access will be to go ahead and privatize. That's to say, the government or whoever is in charge of that particular resource can go ahead and sell it to the highest bidder. That's what we do, by the way, in the question of exploring for oil. We don't allow every single company that wants to go ahead and lift oil to go ahead and lift oil. They go ahead and bid for the right to lift oil out of a particular area. That's to say, we privatize it. Once you privatize it, then you have a vested interest in using that resource efficiently, and so you will not overuse it and you will not abuse it, but you will use it in such a way as to equate marginal cost to marginal revenue. The other thing that the government could do is that we could tax the fishing activity. By taxing the fishing activity, in essence, they are increasing the average cost of the activity, and by increasing the average cost of the activity, they're making it more expensive. Therefore, less fishing boat will go out fishing, and so the resource again will be less exploited. Another thing that the government could do will be just to issue regulations, whereby they will say that the only number of boats that are going to be allowed to go fishing will be 8. And so the government will issue 8 licenses, and they will decide on whatever method that they want of distributing these licenses. So as you can see, fishing, therefore, is a very good example of a resource that is renewable, but yet that is subject to suffering from extinction, and only because of this idea of the tragedy of the commons, and that particular circumstance can be avoided, provided that we interfere with the operation of the system by either privatizing it or by introducing regulation. And that is again serves as another model for how is it that we deal with environmental issues in order to transform the economy into becoming a green economy. So do we just depend on the market, or do we go ahead and interfere? And I would suggest that this particular example favors very much government regulation rather than creating a monopoly. Having said that, I will talk to you sometime very soon on a different topic. Bye-bye.